Well, it's September and kids are back to school, which means all of this back to school gear is going to be coming into the house. So to keep it organized, we are actually talking to a local professional organizer to find out what some systems are that we could use to make things simple throughout the rest of the year. It's all going to be happening over the next half hour, starting right now. Well, as I had mentioned off the top, kids are back in school. It's September, and for a lot of us, that means summertime's over, so we need to get reorganized. And so today we are talking with a professional organizer here in town. I'm joined by Katie. She's with Poppings Professional Organizers. And Katie, when it comes to back to school and getting things ready for the school year, what are some of the big things that parents ask you about or need help with?
Well, first of all, they often ask me about the drop zone of when they come home from school. So like, what do you do with your coats and what do you do with your shoes and your backpacks? And that can become a huge mess in your house. And so that's kind of what we're gonna talk about here.
Okay, absolutely. And that is a big thing because, first of all, for anybody coming into your house to visit, it's the first thing that they see.
Absolutely.
And if you come home from work or bring the kids home from school, it's the first thing that you see and can feel overwhelming. So what are some of the zones or areas or tips that you have for people?
Okay, so we have our shoe closet that we have 3 spaces because we have 3 kids, and so they each know, put your shoes on your shelf. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. It's just get your shoes on your shelf, because when I come home or Daddy comes home or whoever's coming through this store, we don't want them tripping over, 6 pairs of shoes or whatever, if you have friends over or whatever. And so that's one huge thing. And then they know to put their coats on their own hook. We have a coat hook for each kid to put their coats on. So that's another big thing that we try to encourage. Coats laying on the floor is always a big, huge mess. And then we put backpacks in the closet. So there's space for each of their backpacks. 2 of the 3, our youngest isn't in school yet. So they just know put their backpacks in the closet. So
having that drop zone for the backpacks, you were talking to me earlier, and you also have the sporting equipment or musical gear or anything like that as well?
Because you're going in and out of this door to go to school and to go to your sporting stuff and piano lessons or whatever, we just have all of the sporting gear on one shelf in here, so it's really easy for the kids. They just grab and go and then put it back right away when they come back into the house.
Now, what about people who don't have a formal front entrance like this? A lot of people, if they're living in an apartment or a townhome, they might not have double closets and that sort of thing.
Right, and so we lived in a smaller house before, so what we did was we had the drop zone in their bedroom, so we had the hook for their coats or backpacks, and then also you could purchase maybe a wardrobe or something for another area of your house, whether it be a dining room or a kitchen, and then you have your kids drop it there. So it doesn't have to be a closet. So
keeping it all together. Well, Katie, I'm going to keep you around because later in the show we want to talk about lunches. Perfect. That's a big thing for parents. Absolutely. As well as homework and all of those permission slips and that sort of thing. So stay with us. We're going to keep Katie around right here on Go. Well, welcome back again. Kids are back in school and we're talking all about organization, getting things ready for the rest of the school year and staying organized as well. So to do that, I have Katie with Poppings Professional Organizers. And Katie, earlier we talked about kind of that drop zone for backpacks and bags and sporting equipment, that sort of thing. Now we're going to talk about the papers that come out of those backpacks. So what's the suggestion that you have for parents with all those permission slips and that kind of thing?
Well, one thing that I've discovered is that storing your papers upright opposed to laying down is a huge advantage to a parent, because you can see it, and the kids can see it, and they remember that it's there. And I think the counter in your kitchen is a really good place to do that.
Okay, so you have some file folders here that you've put them in. And then beside that, you also have a calendar so that everybody knows what's going on for that month.
Yeah. So the kids come in, and once they've dropped their backpacks in that drop zone in the closet in the front, they bring out usually have like a clear plastic folder from school or a binder or whatever they bring home, their permission slips, and I get them to put it into their file there. And then when I'm around, I just pull it out, sign the form, put it back, and then they know, or I remind them, to put it back into their backpack to go back to school. The calendar is really good for a reminder for the kids, so that just has their events, like their sporting events or piano, or if they have no school that day, or if it's one of their friends' birthdays or anything like that's related to the kids, they have it on their calendar there. So
Now you have it printed and it's ready to go, but sometimes things change, appointments change, or things are added. So for the parents who are like, oh, I don't want to be reprinting that, what do you do?
Right. So, I mean, nothing is ever perfect. You're not going to get your calendar, and then I don't redo it at each month. I just, if they have a field trip that comes along, I just write in there, you know, field trip to wherever, at what time I use a pen, and I just print it right on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as the kids know and can see that, then they're good to go.
That's something you and I were talking about off camera earlier, is just the maintenance of all of the processes that you put in for the year.
Right.
You know, September 1st, we're gung-ho. September 30th, kind of wishy-washy. So how do parents keep this up and keep their kids in this mode of organization?
Right. So I usually tell my clients, like, it does take some maintenance. The first thing that we do though is minimize. So minimizing your stuff, minimizing, you know, my kids will drop rocks in these bins and think that's really important. And I just say, can you go put those back outside? Or, you know, so minimizing your stuff and your coats and your, you know, you only need a very few things that you actually use. And so minimize is the first thing. And then maintenance, like we do about 10, 15 minutes a week where, you know, we maintain the processes. So we clean out those backpacks in the closet and the sporting shelves, and we kind of just put everything back. And it's really a short amount of time, but it'll make the next week and the next month and so on a lot easier. As long as you have a spot for everything and it goes back where it came from, then that's good for maintaining the process with the kids. So
Okay, well, there's one more thing we need to talk about, and that's school lunches. It's a big one.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about that after the break to find out what Katie suggests to keep things quick and easy in the morning. So stay tuned here on Go. Well, we're getting everything organized with kids back to school now. So we've talked about that front entrance, kind of the drop zone for backpacks and bags and coats and that sort of thing. We've talked about all the papers coming home from school. One thing left, school lunches. And so Katie, what are some systems that you've put in for your three kids and getting those breakfasts and lunches ready to go?
Well, we have a schedule that we have for what they eat for breakfast and lunch, and we do one for supper as well, but it's not included on their little area that they read here. So they eat the same thing for breakfast, and different every day, but the same thing every week. And I will probably change this around Christmas if they're getting bored with, you know, having waffles on Thursday and they want to have those on Tuesday or whatever. And then they make the same thing each week on Monday for lunch. Tuesday, you know, it's always the same. So Monday's nachos and salsa, and then, you know, Wednesdays is sandwiches, and they know what to do because they can see it on the sheet there on the counter. So.
And they build their own lunches and they can just pull everything together because they know where it is in the pantry or the fridge or whatever.
Right. Like we have it labeled, and then they know like the fruits and vegetables are in there, and then they know the snack that they can take is in the cupboard and where to get it, and they can build their own lunch.
Do you keep everything together in the kitchen so that it's all kind of simple for them and that sort of thing?
I do. We keep all the lunch bags together. We'll just, everyone's lunch bag is just lined up there so they can just pull it down, and then they grab the stuff with whatever they're making. If it's a sandwich, then they can get the bread, the meat, and just make it, and then their fruit and veggie and a snack. It's really simple. The last part of the option for them is a fruit and a vegetable and a snack every day. They take that, and it's just like that main thing that changes every day. So
Okay, now off camera again, you and I were talking, and snacks in particular, a lot of times you had mentioned that you'll see parents send 10 or more items with their kids, and it just becomes a lot of food for them.
right. So a lot of parents, what'll happen is they'll just think like we want to provide options or stuff for their kids, but I just think like you can have options when you come home. And so we just do one snack from the cupboard every lunch, and then a fruit and a vegetable. Like it's just minimal, right? And because I would be bringing, if I let them take more, I get them home in the lunch bag, and then it's waste and it goes in the garbage. So
Okay. Katie, good tips today. I really appreciate your time. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, because you don't just do this kind of organization with people, you help create systems or with businesses, helping them streamline processes or actual garages and bedrooms and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
How do people get in touch with you?
they can look me up on Facebook at Poppings Professional Organizers, or they can call me at 403-581-0931.
Katie, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much
Awesome.
for helping us to get ready for back to school.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you for joining us. And if you want some more information on anything we do, of course, you can get a hold of us on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want. We'll see you next time here on Go. Em and I work together way too much. Saw your push. See a nice hip shot.